Cleveland Browns have been one of the worst teams in the NFL over many years. Even though they wouldn't publicly say this, they almost seem to be building their team around the hopes of drafting Arch Manning. Take, for instance, the drafting of Emeka Egbuka, a high first-round pick who's now a 92 overall 25-year-old. The trading for Malik Neighbors, a 90 overall 25-year-old. The drafting of a high pick in left tackle Edward Brewer, who is a superstar left tackle. The acquisition of Ben Rosenberg, right guard, 85 overall 24-year-old. And the acquisition of Peter Skoronski. That's why it was not a surprise when Cleveland in 2028, which is the year we're in right now, drafted Arch Manning. Now we'll see if he can save this franchise. So the Cleveland Browns went 8-9 in Arch Manning's first season as the quarterback. They were very close to making the playoffs in a weak AFC North. Let's take a look at the stats for the season. Arch had 3,700 yards passing, 32 TDs, 8 picks. Rushing didn't help that much. Manning actually ran 70 times for 4.5 yards per carry and 2 TDs. V-slot receiver for Cleveland, Matthew Kemp, had 76 catches for 995 yards and 9 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors, 74 catches, 866 yards, 7 touchdowns. Emeka Egbuka had 63 catches, 853 yards, and 7 TDs. Kind of funny. Quinn Ewers was 7th in voting for the league MVP. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Arch Manning. So I have it on where the CPU will control everything for the Browns. We'll just advance to the Super Bowl. I may meet you guys at free agency. I believe the Browns have a lot of draft picks this year, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with them. It looks like they used every single one of them. Sammy Hicks, 78 overall wide receiver. Left outside linebacker, 73. Halfback at an 80. Left tackle, 73. Strong safety, which we needed. We didn't have one on the roster. 78 overall left guard. We'll send to midseason. See where Cleveland stands. The Cleveland Browns are 4-3 right now. I don't know what's going on because he has got an offense 11-6, and they do make the playoffs. So they make it as a 6th seed. They play the 3rd seed, the Houston Texans. Egbuka, a former 1st overall pick, and Cleveland's #1 wide receiver and one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Play action gets it to his 1st-round pick this year, #2 overall, if I remember right. Egbuka, nice juke move. Hicks, the rookie. Arch Manning finds him close to the end zone and takes a step or two and gets in for a Cleveland Browns touchdown. Oh, yes, baby. Arch found him wide open. Egbuka beat his coverage. That's Egbuka again. They put one man on him. One man. Touchdown, baby. Malik Neighbors is wide open. Egbuka holds on after being lit up. You go back to Egbuka. You want to cover him with one guy. He's going to come across. So the Cleveland Browns go into Baltimore, and upset the Baltimore Ravens 42-27 behind Arch Manning and his aerial assault, 446 yards, 6 touchdowns. So Cleveland has made it into the AFC Championship game versus the Denver Broncos. The winner of that game will face Minnesota Vikings and New Orleans Saints. I will probably sim this since I'm not going to play every game that Arch plays and see if they win the game. And if they win the game, I will probably play the Super Bowl. It looks like they did lose 31-21. That's a tough pill to swallow. They did come in as a 6 seed, so they weren't expected to win the Super Bowl. So tough loss for Arch, but he loses in the AFC Championship game. The Browns have $73 million in cap room, so hopefully they will go out and get some defensive players. So Arch Manning this year threw for over 4,500 yards passing, 48 TDs, 8 interceptions, 23 sacks. Aaron did a little bit better this year. He got more carries, but he had 901 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. Arch Manning ran for 233 yards and 4 touchdowns. So the rookie, Sammy Hicks, had 88 catches for 1,099 yards and 13 touchdowns. I would say he was the rookie of the year. I'm just going out on a limb there. Egbuka, 85 catches, 1,068 yards this year, and 8 touchdown catches. Malik Neighbors as the number 2, 91 catches, 947 yards, and 16 touchdowns. Let's see defensively what they need. So they have Ivan Pace Jr. at middle linebacker. He had 107 tackles this year, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, a pick. Denzel Ward is getting pretty old, but he still had 2 picks and 85 tackles. Greg Newsome, who is the number 1 corner now over Denzel Ward, he had 78 tackles and 3 picks. Deion Jeffries, a young defensive tackle for the Browns, had 14 tackles for loss, and Jeffries had 9 sacks. All right, guys, we'll go to season 3 and see if Arch can win a Super Bowl. So we are in season 3 of Arch Manning's career. It looks like he's led them to a 13-4 record. It looks like their first place in the AFC, so they will get a bye. Let's go ahead and look at the stats for the year. Arch Manning, league MVP, and Quinn Ewers came in at second. How fitting. Stefanski, the Browns coach, came in as the second best coach of the year. Offensive player of the year, Arch Manning. He threw 57 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions. That is amazing. Arch even had 302 yards rushing, 4.9 yards per carry, and 3 TDs, 111 catches, 1,314 yards, 18 touchdowns. The young Tyler Morse and Arch Manning, both in their third years, have a connection. Egbuka, one of the top receivers in the NFL, had 92 catches, 1,127 yards, and 7 TDs. Sammy Hicks, 83 catches, 1,055 yards, and 19 touchdowns. And then Malik Neighbors, 89 catches, 981 yards, 9 touchdown receptions. Owusu Koromoa had 118 tackles. Matabuke, who Cleveland must have picked up in free agency from Baltimore in the offseason, so that was a great pickup. Mike Hall Jr. with 10 tackles for loss, and DJ Watt with 10 tackles for loss. Another free agent pickup, Matabuke, 9 sacks. TJ Watt, 7.5. 2 picks for Newsome, Wilkins, and Parsons. Bengals are the lowest seeded team to make it in as the 7th seed. They upset the number 2 Broncos 30-20. So they will have to go to Cleveland. Since we're just really kind of watching the career of Arch Manning, I won't play most of the games, but if he does get into the Super Bowl, I might jump in and play a few plays. And they win. They beat the Bengals just barely, 34-31. So the Raiders upset the Cleveland Browns 21-19 in the AFC Championship game. So back-to-back AFC losses for Arch Manning and the Cleveland Browns. This year they were favored though. The Lions have won the Super Bowl, beat the Raiders 41-21. Here's the draft recap. So a tight end was taken with the 30th pick overall. He's a 75. The rest of the draft was not good. So Cleveland has a banner year. They go 15-2. Let's view the playoff bracket. They, of course, finish first in the AFC. We will go ahead and look at any awards. Arch Manning was the MVP again. Stefanski was Coach of the Year. Arch Manning, Offensive Player of the Year. Arch Manning was 13 yards away from 5,000 yards passing. He threw for 52 touchdowns and 1 interception. Was only sacked 24 times. Heron had 1,068 yards. 7 touchdowns. Morse, 98 catches, 1278 and 9. Neighbors, 102, 1143 and 13. Hicks, 98, 1121 and 18. Egbuka, 79, 1014 and 7. And I suspect that they're just double teaming Egbuka since he's the #1 receiver. 109 tackles from Ivan Pace Jr., middle linebacker. Tyrone Wilkins, strong safety with 100 tackles. 15 tackles for loss from Matabuke. 11 from Craig Albert. Mike Hall Jr., the veteran, had 12.5 sacks. Matabuke, 12. Tyrone Wilkins and our free safety, Trevor Harold, both had 3. The Browns play the Chargers. They're the 4th seed. All right, let's sim through. So Cleveland wins that over the Los Angeles Chargers, 31-17. They will face the #3 Patriots in the AFC Championship. So we'll advance through the AFC Championship game. And Cleveland loses again. No, they win. They're going to the Super Bowl. I don't know how I read that wrong. 24-21. So this will be Arch's first Super Bowl.
First play is to the air. Finds him over the middle. Now looking to throw.
All right, Buka catches that.
It is
A tight end. Oh, that was a touchdown.
They are throwing it again.
Hicks, touchdown, baby. Arch saw an opening and gunned it in there with Sammy Hicks.
2nd and 10 now. Dialing up a receiver screen.
The slot screen, if that weren't for Hicks.
Throw it again. Completed over there.
And there's Hicks again.
Still sticking with the passing game.
Neighbors with the catch and the first down.
Throwing from the gun here.
Manning saw Hicks take a little bit different route than he was supposed to. And he saw him wide open and he hit him. Like Buka, baby.
Carrying it out to start this drive. Into the hands of Neighbors.
And that's Malik Neighbors.
Shotgun snap, looking to throw. That one's complete.
And Buka makes sure to get the first down.
Quick touch pass to the receiver. Still has some space inside the 35.
There goes Buka on the jet touch pass. Touchdown, Browns.
Dropping back to throw. He lets one fly deep downfield.
Oh, great throw and great catch.
Shotgun snap, looking to throw.
Buka, 45-24. And that's how it'll end, folks. Arch Manning, 427 yards and 6 TDs. Buka, 224 yards and 3 TDs. He'll be mad he wasn't the MVP of the Super Bowl. The Cleveland Browns have finished season 5 of Arch Manning's career. Looks like Miami is the #1 seed. Cleveland finished with an 11-6 record, I believe. So let's sim through the divisional championship, and Cleveland beats the Bengals 21-16. So they move on, play the Indianapolis Colts in the divisional game. Colts are the 2 seed, and it looks like Cleveland has won. So they actually beat the Colts 28-27, and they will play the #1 seed, the Miami Dolphins, in the AFC Championship game, while the Philadelphia Eagles play Tampa Bay Bucks in the NFC Championship game. Arch Manning was the MVP again. Is that 3 years in a row? Arch Manning, the Offensive Player of the Year. I believe that is 3 years in a row. So Arch finally gets over that 5,000 mark with 5,174 yards, 54 TDs, 5 interceptions, only 25 sacks. Aaron, 1,062 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, and 17 touchdowns. Morse, 113 catches, 1,384 yards, 13 TDs. Malik Neighbors stepped up big this year as the 3rd receiver, 99 catches, 1,172 yards, and 15 TDs. Egbuka had 87 catches for 1,145 yards and 10 TDs. And Sammy Hicks, 86 catches, 981 yards, and 11 TDs. Pace with 112 tackles. Hall Jr. and Craig Albert with 13 tackles for loss. Hall Jr. with 9.5 sacks. Jeffries with 7 sacks. So we will advance through the AFC Championship. If they do win the AFC Championship, then I will play some of the Super Bowl. Cleveland has made it to the Super Bowl, so they will play the Philadelphia Eagles.
Start this drive in the air. Oh, he's going to take a shot right away. Well, this is taken in.
Hicks. Manning to Hicks. For 6.
Stayed in great communication, and as he dragged across each zone,
A pass to Egbuka for another Cleveland touchdown. For Cleveland fans, hopefully their defense shows up today. And they did with an interception. Oh, nice job by Morse. Touchdown Hicks. Touchdown Browns.
On play action, they'll throw.
Egbuka with the catch and the block. Can he go all the way? He did it. The Cleveland Browns score another touchdown to go up 2 scores.
They were very frustrated after giving up 6 the last time on the field.
and frankly, it's just a
Neighbors.
in a lot of ways because you know that both
Oh, he's gone, folks.
There he goes. And all the way in. Touchdown.
Touchdown Malik Neighbors from Arch Manning. It's 35-24 as Philly has scored a touchdown. Morse
It's a short one here, complete to his tight end. And they're going to have this across midfield.
picks up huge yards. Arch already has 359 yards passing and 5 TDs.
They'll look to throw here. Able to find the open man. That's complete.
Finds Hicks.
locked in on offense.
Over the middle, taken in by Neighbors.
First down, Cleveland.
Back to throw. That's complete. It's Neighbors.
He's taken down at
the 3.
Philly 3.
The play action fake. They'll look to throw.
Oh, Morse is lit up, but he holds on to the ball.
But sometimes they get locked into such a groove and such a connection. it
Great
doesn't
pass
matter
to
how many guys
Hicks.
are in his-
He'll look to throw. Quick hitter here.
Neighbors. So close to getting in.
Looking to throw.
Egbuka from Arch Manning. Touchdown Browns. 52-31 is your score. And
Well,
that
partner,
is
under
your
the lights
final,
in
folks.
primetime, this
Cleveland
offense, they gave the
wins
nation quite a show, putting up
back-to-back
that
Super
many points to
Bowls.
come away with
They
what will
take
certainly
down the
be a memorable
mighty
win for them.
Philadelphia
And Brandon, I think it's a
Eagles.
simple
Cleveland,
Cleveland
Ohio,
Browns
that
on
is
top of the
2
world, Super Bowl
championships for
champions.
you, 2 in a row. Put
Season of
that
the
statue
NFL on
of
EA
Arch up
Sports for my
right
partner,
next to
Charles Davis.
LeBron. Arch 30 of 35, 477 yards, 7 TDs, and no picks. Morse with 8 catches, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. Hicks, 8 catches, 148. And 2, Egbuka, 6 catches, 108 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Neighbors, 6 catches, 124 yards, and 1 touchdown. So in Arch's 6th season, Cleveland has clinched the #1 spot in the playoffs, along with the Atlanta Falcons on the NFC side. So they will get a bye. Arch Manning, I believe, is the 3-time MVP. I mean, back to back to back. Arch Manning with 5,341 yards passing, 56 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Aaron had exactly 1,000 yards rushing, 4.4 yards per carry, and 7 TDs. Arch had 289 yards rushing and 5 TDs. Malik Neighbors had 96 catches, 1,322 yards, and 15 TDs. Tyler Morse, our tight end, had 102 catches for 1,167 yards and 12 TDs. Egbuka had 94 catches, 6 touchdowns. And Hicks with 79 catches, 1,024, and 12 TDs. And then Heron actually had 7 TD catches. On defense, Ivan Pace had 112 tackles. Albert had 12 tackles for loss. Hall Jr. had 11. Jeffries had 7 sacks. Jeffries had 10. Hall Jr. had 7.5. Terrence Ingram had 4.5. So the Browns had a 15-2 record. So we'll advance a week to see who they play. They have $118 million in cap space, so it'll be interesting to see if they use any of that this offseason. So Tennessee beats Denver 34-7, and Cleveland will play them. And as usual, we will sim through these games, and if they make it to the Super Bowl, we'll probably jump in and play quite a bit of that Super Bowl. So here we go to advance week. It looks like Cleveland won 28-26. So Cleveland will face the #2 seed. They've made it to the AFC Championship game. Ooh, Cleveland is upset 14-7. I guess it's a mild upset, but they do not get a chance to three-peat as the Indianapolis Colts upset the Browns 14-7. The offense seemingly did nothing in that game. So it'll be the Colts and the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Looks like Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts was the MVP, and they beat the Falcons 24-17 to win the 2033 Super Bowl. So the Browns seemingly spent nothing as they have $155 million still in cap space. Ooh, the Steelers in our division picked up Aiden Hutchinson as a 95 overall. He's 34 years old now, but still a 95 overall. And that should be someone to be feared. I believe the Browns are saving some of that 155, I would suspect, to re-sign Arch Manning, but it's out of my control. Here's a quick draft recap. Curtis Felton, the first round pick, while the Browns are down to an 85 on defense. So the Cleveland Browns finish Arch Manning's 7th season 13-4. Let's view the playoff bracket. So they are the #1 seed again. As we saw, they didn't win the Super Bowl last year. Arch Manning does win the MVP, so he wins it for the 3rd time in 4 years. So Arch Manning threw for 5,261 yards, had 49 TDs, and 8 interceptions. Heron may have hit the cliff. He had 805 yards rushing at 3.5 yards per carry. Arch Manning 305 yards rushing, 4.4 yards per carry. Morse 112 catches, 1,300 yards, 12 TDs. Neighbors 103, 1,300, 18 TDs. Egbuka 98 catches, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdown catches. Hicks 88 catches, 1,000 yards, 11 TDs. 104 for our new middle linebacker. I guess Ivan Pace is no longer our starting middle linebacker. And Nick Reynolds had 10 tackles for loss and 6 sacks. Jeffries and Hall lead in sacks. Pittman had 7 sacks. Reynolds had 3 INTs. Wilkins had 2. This will be the last year before Cleveland has to pony up for Arch Manning, I believe, if they want to keep him. So the number 7 seed upsets number 2 seed Dolphins 27-24. So they will actually play Cleveland, and Cleveland wins, it looks like. Yes, 42-21. They will again in the AFC Championship face the Indianapolis Colts. We will advance week, and Cleveland beats Indianapolis 34-20 to make it to the Super Bowl. So it'll be the number 1 seed Atlanta Falcons versus the number 1 seed Cleveland Browns in the Super Bowl. This will be Arch's chance to win his 3rd Super Bowl, all with Cleveland.
They go play action here on first down.
Hicks is open. That was not Arch's first read, but he saw him open over the middle, and he threw it deep to Hicks.
Back to throw.
Malik Neighbors.
Again, he'll drop to throw. This is caught.
Touchdown, Morse. Arch to Morse.
Go back out there and get it done again. Doesn't matter what the defense throws at them. They feel like they're in a groove
Morse catches it and goes out of bounds. There's a flag on the play.
Something short, shallow, going through defenders.
Oh, Ibuka is wide open, and he scores the 2nd Cleveland touchdown. Put them up 13-7.
That also found the end zone. Now they want to do something.
Ibuka wide open. You cannot contain him. You got to double him up.
Now a shotgun snap as they'll look to throw.
Oh, Hicks. He's gone, baby. He got speed.
Inside the 20. And he'll take it into the end zone.
Cleveland goes up 27-14, baby.
They'll set up a throw.
Oh, Ibuka. The safety came in. Ibuka was left free one-on-one with the cornerback.
Out of the gun, they'll look to throw. That's complete. It's Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors.
He'll look to throw. Quick hitter here. It's
Ibuka
complete.
gets just enough for the first down.
Hitting this game, didn't it? For them to get downfield that quickly. And now for
Touchdown, Sammy Hicks.
Great play there.
And Cleveland will win its 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. 56-31. Arch Manning with his 3rd Super Bowl. Arch Manning was just too much today. 6 touchdowns, 531 yards passing. So the Cleveland Browns just won their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years under the leadership of Arch Manning, and his contract came up, and before he hit free agency, it appears that Cleveland has given him a blockbuster contract. In 2035, he will get paid $89 million. In 2036, he'll get paid $92 million. 2037, $95 million. 2038, $98 million. 2039, $102 million. And then in 2040, $32 million. In 2041, $37 million. $170 million in total salary. An $89 million cap hit. Total bonus, $374 million. So that is quite an effort to keep Arch Manning in the fold, and they did it. One thing I wanted to, I guess, show you guys, if you didn't notice it, but Arch Manning's overall interest in re-signing with Cleveland was almost nil. He wanted a warm weather state. The head coach historic record was okay, but he wanted a no income tax state. But he was overwhelmed by the money, I suppose. But a little fascinating that he didn't go into free agency. But maybe when you're offered that much money, you just take it. So the Cleveland Browns should keep trucking along with the re-signing of their major players. Egbuka is 32 now. He's not the best receiver in the league. They let him go. He went to Tennessee. Malik Neighbors is gone. He's down to an 84. He went to the Raiders. Some huge losses. Mike Hall Jr. goes to the Patriots. So in Arch Manning's 8th season, even though they lost so many players to free agency, they still made the playoffs. Let's check out the playoff bracket. They are the 6th seed in the AFC. The Texans are the number 1 seed. These are the 2035 playoffs. Arch Manning was the MVP again. I believe that's the 4th time. Stephen Ward was the Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Browns. Arch Manning with close to 5,000 yards passing, 49 TDs, and 9 interceptions. Herron down to 3.6 yards per carry, and the only 2 wide receivers remaining from the championships are Sammy Hicks with 85 catches, 1,066 yards, and 9 TDs. Tyler Morse, 89 catches, 1,097 yards, 14 TDs. Sidney Tatum, a 3-year player out of Toledo, had a great season. 96 catches, as did Stephen Ward, the rookie, with 93 catches and 15 touchdown receptions. That's why he was the rookie of the year. Nick Reynolds, middle linebacker, had the most tackles with 106. Jeffries had the most tackles for loss with 12. He also was tied with Deion Pittman for sacks, 6.5. And Terrell Bussey and Curtis Felton had 4 interceptions and 3 respectively. So we'll just advance weeks like we normally do. Cleveland did upset Miami, the 3 seed, 30-18. Now they'll play the 4th seed, the Denver Broncos, and Cleveland just beats the Broncos 34-31 to advance to the AFC Championship against the 7th seed Patriots. And the Patriots, the 7th seed, beat Cleveland 24-12 to make it to the Super Bowl. So Cleveland is done. So we'll see you in 2036. In Arch Manning's 9th season, Cleveland makes the 2036 playoffs as the 2 seed. So Cleveland had an 11-6 record. Arch wins it again. I believe that's his 5th. Arch Manning with just over 4,600 yards passing, 55 TDs, and 6 interceptions this year. They had a new running back in there. His name is Reed Donaldson, 1 year out of Oregon. He had 856 yards, 3.5 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. Tyler Morse had 95 catches, 1,200 yards, 12 TDs. Sammy Hicks had 90 catches, 1,100 yards, and 14 TDs. And Morrison, I don't remember him from last year. He had 86 catches, but 19 touchdowns. And then Stephen Ward, the Rookie of the Year last year, had 71 catches and 8 touchdowns, 106 tackles from Nick Reynolds, 17.5 sacks from Deion Jeffries, 15 tackles for loss. How he was not the Defensive Player of the Year, I do not know. Tyrone Wilkins, strong safety, with 3 interceptions. We'll advance through this game versus the Chiefs. Cleveland beats Kansas City 35-14, so they will play the 4th seed, the New England Patriots, and they lost by a field goal 24-21 to New England. So New England goes on to play in the AFC Championship game, and Cleveland goes home. The LA Rams defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 45-14. Quinn Ewers was the Super Bowl MVP. We are in Arch Manning's 10th season in the NFL. All of them with the Cleveland Browns, and they, in 2037, have made the playoffs again, this time as the number 2 seed. And so we'll check out some stats from the season. Arch Manning finishes second in MVP voting to Anthony Richardson. Quinn Ewers, now with the Jets, was 6th. Arch Manning threw for over 4,800 yards this year, 44 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Reed Donaldson had 806 yards and 9 TDs. Morris Morrison had 85 catches, 13 TDs. Sammy Hicks with 83 catches, 1,100 yards, and 13 TDs. Stephen Ward, 87 catches, 1,000 yards, and 6 TDs. And then Morse with 90 catches, 1,000 yards, and 10 TDs. So Cleveland and Arch Manning beat the New York Jets 37-28. They move on to play the 4th seed, the Chargers. They beat the Chargers 31-17. And now to face off in the AFC Championship versus the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson, the guy who beat out Arch Manning for the MVP of the league. And the Colts beat Arch and the Browns 36-35. Their dreams of going to another Super Bowl is done. So the 49ers win their 6th Super Bowl. Middle linebacker DeAndre Forbes was the MVP in Arch's 11th season. They make the playoffs again this year as the 6th seed. Arch Manning is the MVP again. 4,828 yards passing, 53 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So a great season. Donaldson had 933 yards rushing. Stephen Ward had 97 catches for 11 touchdowns. Tyler Morse had 95 catches, 1,100 yards, and 12 TDs. Morris Morrison, 99 catches, 15 TDs. Sammy Hicks, 82 catches and 10 TDs. Beats the lights out of Cleveland 31-13. Cleveland is out in the first round, so it'll be Green Bay and Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl. And Green Bay wins their 5th Super Bowl. Wow, the salary cap went to a positive 25 million to a negative 58 million. That has to be in part Arch Manning's salary going up. Next season, Arch Manning's salary will go to $111 million per season. The good thing is that the year after, it'll go down to $41 million. That is an epic contract. I haven't really shared the drafts with you guys, in part because the drafts have been so bad. Cleveland just really has not done a good job of finding guys in the first round, second or third round that were anywhere close to the 80s. We are in season 12 and the Cleveland Browns have made the playoffs once again, this time as the 4th seed. Check out the stats real quick. The Arch comes up just short. He finishes 2nd in the MVP voting, and Arch's stats in his 12th season: 4,751 yards, 47 TDs, and 11 interceptions. 911 yards rushing for Donaldson, 109 catches for Morris Morrison, 101 for Tyler Morse. Hicks down to 86 catches, but 18 touchdowns. Let's advance through this Titans game. And Cleveland beats Tennessee 28-26. So they advance to face the number 1 seed, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is 17-0, by the way. Wow. So Cleveland, in a huge upset of 17-0, Jacksonville beats them 33-21. They will play in the AFC Championship game against Kansas City, and Cleveland just loses a close one, 21-16 to KC. So KC will go to the Super Bowl, and Cleveland will miss out once again. So Green Bay beats Kansas City in the Super Bowl 35-18 for their 6th Super Bowl. So we are in Arch's 13th season, and for the first time and as long as I can remember, Cleveland has not made the playoffs. They finished 8-9 in 2040. Let's take a look at the league awards and the stats. So Arch Manning won the league MVP award, so that's like 6 for him or something. I've lost track. Arch had 4,984 yards passing, so he was 16 yards from 5,000, 51 TDs, 6 interceptions. Donaldson up to 4.4 yards per carry, 874 yards rushing. Morse with 99 receptions, 1,100 yards, 9 TDs. Sammy Hicks, 79 catches, 19 touchdowns. So Arch, in his 14th year, has led the Browns back to the playoffs as the number 1 seed, I believe a 14-3 record. He re-signed with the Browns to a 1-year contract worth about $40 million and led them to a first-round bye. The Seahawks are the number 1 seed in the NFC. So Cleveland will play the Las Vegas Raiders, who are the 7th seed. They upset the number 2 seed, Miami Dolphins, and the number 7th seed Raiders upset the number 1 seed Browns 31-28. So that's a crusher for Browns fans because they signed Arch for 1 more year. He led them to the 1st seed overall, and they were 3 points away from making the AFC Championship game. So in 2041, the Colts win their 5th Super Bowl over the LA Rams 31-28. Arch Manning was the MVP of the NFL, brought back by the Browns on a 1-year contract and the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. And they lost early in the playoffs. They brought him back on a $74 million 1-year contract. Wow, he really wants to end his career with the Cleveland Browns. Oh, Tyler Morse is down to an 81. He is a free agent, so he is no longer part of the Browns organization. So at 8-9, Arch has led the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs somehow as the 4th seed. So let's sim through and see how they do. And they lose 35-31. Cleveland has $140 million in cap space available. So Arch is back. Let's check out if it's another 1-year contract. So it is another 1-year contract. So in the 2043 season, I believe Cleveland has made the playoffs once again at 9-8, and they are the 6th seed. So they will play the Pittsburgh Steelers. So as usual, we will sim through that game, and they lose yet again 23-16 to the Steelers. So Cleveland is out of the 2043 playoffs. Arch has been on a 1-year contract for 3 or so years now, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. He is down to a 94 overall. So the Seattle Seahawks beat the Miami Dolphins 28-14 to win their 2nd Super Bowl. Falcons quarterback was the MVP of the league. We'll check Arch's stats real quick. He had over 4,900 yards passing, 42 touchdowns, 11 INTs, so still looking good. Another bad draft for Cleveland, but they do pick a quarterback in the 2nd round, so that's of interest. So Cleveland finishes 8-9 in the 2044 season, and they do not make the playoffs. Let's look at Arch to see what he's down to this year. He's a 94 as a 37-year-old, so we'll see what Cleveland does if they release him or if they re-sign him. Pittsburgh wins the 2044 Super Bowl over Green Bay. Arch Manning with 4,200 yards passing, 34 TDs, 10 interceptions. One thing I noticed over the last 10 years or so is that Cleveland did not sign any free agents. I mean, none that I can remember. And if it was any, it was just a couple. So in the 2045 season, Cleveland finishes with their worst record since Arch took over as quarterback, and that is 5-12. So obviously they didn't make the playoffs, and we'll see what Arch and Cleveland decide on his future. The Chargers win their 1st Super Bowl and beat the Falcons 27-21. Arch with 4,400 yards passing, 42 TD passes, and 6 INTs. Arch Manning is 39 years old now. He is down to an 87 overall, and his contract for 2046 is a 1-year contract for $14 million. So in 2046, with Arch in steep decline, Cleveland makes it as a 4 seed in the playoffs. Let's check out his stats for the year. 4,800 yards, 49 touchdowns, and 14 INTs. His 18th year, it looks like. That is it for Cleveland for 2046 as the Raiders beat them 35-28. So Washington beats Buffalo 37-31. Arch is a 40-year-old. Is down to an 85 overall. Signed about a $10 million contract. In the 2047 season, Cleveland finishes 8-9. We'll check out Arch's stats. Over 4,800 yards passing, 47 TDs. His INTs have picked up with 16. So the Tennessee Titans win their first Super Bowl over the 49ers 38-20 in 2047. So starting the 2048 season, Grant Pittman is an 84 overall, 27-year-old. Arch Manning has dropped to an 82. Is he not the starter anymore? He's a captain. He signed a $5 million contract. We will find out soon enough if Arch is still the starting quarterback. Wow. Pittman is the starting quarterback for the Browns. Arch is the backup. Let's see if Arch makes this his last season. 2048. Cleveland is the number 2 seed in the AFC. Grant Pittman is the quarterback, and he had a phenomenal season. He's a superstar dev trait. So even without Arch, McVay or whatever his name is did not help the Cleveland Browns advance. They were upset 24-17 by the Raiders. The Raiders beat the 49ers in the 2048 Super Bowl. Arch Manning has retired after 21 years with the Cleveland Browns. He was definitely loyal, and the Browns were loyal to him. Arch Manning, 21 years with the Cleveland Browns and 3 Super Bowls. Thank you, Arch Manning and the Cleveland Browns. Arch is the career leader in passing yards at 95,000 and passing TDs at 936. So Manning is not showing a Hall of Fame jacket yet, but I would say since he is number 1 overall in legacy score with 65,000, 10,000 more than Mahomes, that he is a surefire Hall of Famer. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. If you are not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I just appreciate you guys stopping by. Just know that you're made for a purpose. I appreciate every single one of you guys that watch these broadcasts or these videos, and I hope to see you next time. Take care, guys.